Welcome to this really short tutorial on how to prepare for question 1 of the AQA writing exam for foundation tier. Now I'm going to be doing this in Spanish, but the theory is the same for German as it is for French and the other languages exams for AQA. This will be the first question that you find on the paper. What you will see is you'll see a photograph and you'll see 4 lines. There's 4 parts to the question. Each part of the question is worth 2 marks, giving you a total of 8 marks in total for this section. What you have to do is describe this in 4 sentences. What's really important is a sentence. You must use a verb. To keep it nice and simple, what I would suggest is if you were a student of Spanish, I would start each sentence with I. If you're a student of French, il y a. And follow it by a noun. The reason for this is I, there is or there are, and il y a, there is or there are. They count as verbs by AQA, so they will qualify you for the full marks. After you've done that, have a look at the image in front of you and start picking off some things that you see in that picture. What's also useful often is furniture. You often see a lot of furniture. In this case, you can see una mesa. Now, what's really important is I've written down those things, but they're not in sentences yet. They're just single items. They're nouns. If you just give a noun and you don't put a verb in front of it, you can only get a maximum of 1 mark. You must put a verb. So once you've had a look at the photograph, you've identified some nouns on, it's time to start writing your sentences. So I'll start with, what a lot of people will be tempted to do at this point is to put a connective and put una mujer. If I were you, I wouldn't do that, because what we can do is if we put a little bracket around this, I can actually get a second sentence out of this by saying hay una mujer. If you just wrote the first sentence, this one here, you would only get a maximum of 2 marks. However, if you start with hay un hombre, kept that separate, and on the line underneath wrote hay una mujer, you would get 2 marks for the top one, and you get 2 for the one underneath. So that's one little way. Don't write more than 1 noun for each sentence. You only want to contain 1 noun. Don't put any connectives. Just keep your sentence short and simple. And I would start each and every sentence with there is or there are. And that's all there is to it. The 2 marks are rewarded for communication if it's clear. So if you keep it nice and simple, you need to use verbs. And if it's clear, you get the 2 marks. If there's a little bit of ambiguity, so for instance, hay dos una mujer, there are 2, a woman, then you would probably get 1 mark because you're communicating something. However, if it doesn't make any sense, you'll get 0 marks. Remember, you must use a verb. If you don't use a verb and just write a noun such as una mujer, you would only get 1 mark as well. And the last thing, which is really, really important, if something doesn't feature on the photo, so for instance, I could say un gato. There's no cat anywhere in this photograph, but if I were to put, for instance, no hay un gato, you don't get any marks for that. You must write what is in the photograph, because if it isn't in the photograph, you won't get any credit for it. The last thing to note is I would leave any adjectives. I would leave any adjectives because 1, the photograph is going to be in black and white, and 2, you want to keep this part as simple as possible and just breeze through it to give you a really good confidence boost before you launch into the rest of the paper.